Okay, so in this video we're going to be doing estimations. So we're going to start with the basic ones first, and then we're going to do a couple of wordy problems. But it does involve being able to find volumes and areas, so make sure that you know how to do that. But generally, estimation is actually quite a nice topic. The first thing you need to be able to do is round, generally to one or sometimes two significant figures. Okay, so make sure that you've practiced that as well. But I will go through it anyway. So for the first one, we need to estimate the calculations that are below here. So the first thing we need to do is round to one significant figure. Okay, now there are some exceptions that you'll see, not with these ones, but in the future there are some exceptions where it's easier. Let's say, for example, you have to square root 27.2. You wouldn't round that to 30, for example, because you can't square root 30, but you would be able to round it to 25 because you can square root 25. So it's just those sorts of exceptions. Okay, but for these ones, it's not too bad. So first one, 0.99. We need to round that to one sig fig. So this is the first significant figure of this decimal, but the 9 would round up that 9, which would then carry over. So actually that's just going to round to 1. Okay, 101. So this is the first sig fig. Okay, and that means the rest will just be 0. So that's going to round to just 100. Okay, now these ones are the weird ones. A lot of people would want to round that to 17. Okay, but 17 would be two significant figures. So the first number here is the first sig fig. The 6 would round that one up, so that's going to become 20. Plus the 5 is the first sig fig. The 1 doesn't make it any bigger, so that's just going to become 5. Okay, once we've done the rounding, we then just simplify. Okay, so 1 times 100 is just 100. Divided by 20, add 5 is 25. Okay, and 25 goes into 100 4 times. Okay, so the estimate of that calculation will be 4. Okay, so for the next one, we're going to do exactly the same thing. So the first sig fig would be the 1. The 9 would make the 1 bigger, so that's just going to become 2. The 2 here is the sig fig. The 9 is obviously bigger than 5, so that's going to round it up, so it's going to become 300. Okay, now with significant figures, it's the first number that isn't a 0, so the 5 would be the first sig fig. The 1 doesn't make it any bigger, so it's just going to become 0.5. It doesn't become 1. Okay, so just be careful with that. And the reason why this one became 1 is because the 9 after the first 9 makes it 1 bigger. Okay, then we can simplify. So 2 times 300 is 600. Divided by, and then 0.5 can't be simplified. Then we just think, how many halves go into 600? That would be 1,200. Okay. So they're the basic ones that you'll get. The next side is a bit more of a wordy one. Okay. So below is a diagram here of a farmer's field. Shown. Okay, shown below. First part is we need to calculate the estimate area of the field. Okay, so we're going to do it very similar to before. So the first thing we're going to do is just round these numbers here first. So for the 9.92, the first 9 is the first sig fig. That 9 would make it bigger, so that's going to round to 10 metres. Okay, and for the next one, so we've got 19.5, so the 1 there would be the first sig fig. The 9 would round it up, so that's going to become 20 metres. Okay, once we've done that, we can actually just find the area. So to find the area, we just multiply those two together. So 10 multiplied by 20, which is 200, and that'll be metres squared. Okay, because it's area. Okay, so that's the first part done. Part B, each cow needs 4.5 metres of room in the field. Use your answer for part A to estimate the maximum number of cows that can be placed. Okay, so we have to use the answer that we've just used for part A to be able to answer part B. Now, this number 4.5, although it's 0.5 is a fairly nice decimal, I am going to round this, because it does say estimate again, so I am going to round that to 1 sig fig, and then see how many of those will fit into my answer from part A, and then that will tell us the number of cows. Okay, so 4.5 metres squared. I'm going to round that, so 1 sig fig would be the 4, but the 5 would actually round it up. So it's going to be 5 metres squared per cow. Okay, so I'm going to do 200 divided by 5, which is 40 cows. Okay, and that's all you need to do. Okay, so we're going to do one more. I'm going to do it on the other side. A bit of a wordy one, but it's okay. A tube has a height of 9.50 centimetres and radius 0.98 centimetres. Give an estimate for the volume in terms of pi. Okay, so you won't need a calculator for this. The reason why is because it says leave it in terms of pi. Okay, we do need to estimate it, so that doesn't actually mean you work it out. Okay, even though I know some of you will be able to. So the first thing we'll do, estimate, means that we're going to start rounding the numbers first. Okay, so the height at the moment is 9.5, so we're going to round that to 1 sig fig. So the 9 is the first one, but there's a 5 after. The 5 would round up the 9, so the height's actually going to be 10 centimetres. Okay, and the radius. So the 9 is the first sig fig, but the 8 would make it or round it up, but then that would round it to a 10, so that's going to actually be 1 centimetre. Okay, now if you can't remember how to find the volume of a cone, not a cone, a cylinder, because obviously a tube would look like this. So you would do the radius squared times pi, because that's the area of the circle at the top, and then we'll times by the height. Okay, so that's the volume. So the radius we know is 1, times by pi, times by the height of 10. Okay, now we don't need to do anything with the pi, we'll just leave it as it is, but we can simplify the numbers. So 1 squared is just 1, 1 times 10 is just 10, so it'll be 10 pi. Okay, so that's the answer. And I should have added units as well, centimetres cubed.